childhood and gender. Her work experience includes stints with Pride and assignments with Praxis Institute of Participatory Practices. At Magic Bus, she's head research and development. She is also the child protection officer of the organization. So, Hamavi, please come on the stage. And I hand over.
Thanks, Chirag, and welcome everybody. I know it's been a long conference and we're on the last day. But we've got a really very interesting panel of speakers coming up. What we'd like to do for this session is perhaps just break out of the really the very strong divide that sometimes comes in between participants in the audience and participants on the stage. So we've taken out the table from the middle. And so feel free to put your hand up at any point during the discussion. And if I spot you and if I'm in a good mood, then I might ask you to have you ask a question. I'm going to invite all the speakers onto the dais first, please. And if you please come up, Nico, Rama, Abdul, Sudesh, and Sujit. And I'll introduce you once you're seated. Thanks. The session that we're going into right now is a session on using sport for development in conflict and post-disaster situations. So we dealt with that briefly in the morning in little snippets here and there, but this is going to be fairly more intense, hopefully. We've already heard Dr. Shulenkov, but we'll just reiterate that he's Senior Lecturer for Sport Management at the University of Technology in Sydney. And he's also on the editorial board of the European Journal for Sport and Society and co-founder and deputy editor of the Journal of Sport for Development. There's such big words in there, yeah? You've got to get your tongue around some of them sometimes. So welcome, Dr. Shulenkov. So glad to have you here. We've got with us somebody who's worked in the development sector very passionately, particularly in the Mumbai area for several years, Rama Sham. Rama is co-founder and board member of the Society for Awareness, Harmony and Equal Rights, also called SAHED. She currently works with We the People, which is an Indian non-profit committed to responsible citizenship. She's got a PhD in social sciences from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and she was granted the President Marti Apisari Peace Builder Award in Washington in June 2012. Rama is an old friend and well-wisher of Magic Bus. Welcome here, Rama. We're glad you could make it. We've got a young man who started working in the development sector when he was barely out of childhood. Abdul Amin. He's site manager for Skatistan, which is in Afghanistan. So Abdul was born in Pakistan, then moved to Afghanistan and has been working there. He began volunteering with Skatistan in December 2009 and he now works as the site manager. Has got a very interesting presentation and I'm sure lots of interesting experiences for us to learn from. We're also really fortunate to have with us Dr. Sudesh, who is Nodal Officer for the European Commission State Partnership Program in the School Education Department. Dr. Sudesh is with the SCVRT in Chhattisgarh, which for those of you who don't know is considered part of what is called the Red Corridor in India, which is impacted by activities which challenge the state, basically. And so there have been long interventions that the state, in partnerships with certain NGOs, have been undertaking there. So Dr. Sudesh works in that environment. He has worked as Assistant Director Pedagogy in the state Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan program for 9 years. And he has worked also with some leading foundations in India, including Pratham and the Azim Premji Foundation. As if to add, this is all not enough. He's now also doing an MBA from IGNOU. Thank you, Dr. Sudesh. Thanks for coming. And finally, with a lot of pride, we introduce Dr. Sujit Ranjan, who is currently the Chief Operating Officer of Magic Bus. He has a doctorate in philosophy in Gendering Reproductive Child Health Program from a human rights perspective, which was a case study of tribal children in Jharkhand. And he also has an MBA in Rural Development from the Xavier Institute of Social Services in Ranchi. He worked with a leading NGO, CARE, in India for 20 years before he moved to Magic Bus. Sujit, thanks so much for coming onto this panel. He's going to bring in the post-disaster perspective here. I know it took a while on that, but it's a very illustrious panel, so I had to pay them adequate respect. So we'll go in straight to the discussion now. What I'm going to do is open it up for the panelists. Everyone will get 5 minutes to present, to make an initial presentation, like opening comments or perhaps a PowerPoint, if that's what they feel like. And then I've got a few questions, and I'm sure by that time you'll have a few. So, like I said, once the initial presentations are over, feel free to raise your hand and ask a question, and we'll take it from there. Yeah? Great. May I invite you first, Nico, please, to just set the stage here. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. It's great to continue on from what I've talked about before, which is excellent. If you could get that PowerPoint up, that has my difficult last name first and then Sri Lanka behind it, that would be... Okay, so what I want to talk to you about, whilst they're getting ready, is some experiences from work and research work that I've been doing in Sri Lanka. Now, I want to give you a bit of context first about the country. Oh, here we go, brilliant. There's no clicker, so we can go to the next slide. Thanks. I want to give you a bit of context of the situation in Sri Lanka when I was doing my research. It has changed since, so I want to give you a bit of an idea how it looked like when I was going over there between 2005 and 2008. Sri Lanka is an ethnically, religiously and linguistically diverse society. You've got a large majority of Sinhalese Buddhist community that speaks Sinhala, and then you've got a Tamil community, a minority group, 18% that are Hindu and speak Tamil. And then, of course, you've got the Muslim group in between. So you've got three distinct groups, and most of you will be aware that Sri Lanka has been in a civil war situation, or quasi-civil war situation, for 25 to 30 years. And the Tamil minority, represented, or sometimes misrepresented by the Tamil Tigers, the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, they were trying to establish a state, an independent Tamil state in the northern parts of the country, which they considered their traditional Tamil homeland. They ran a de facto state in that area, and it's the red areas that you see there on the map of Sri Lanka, that they, during that time, were in charge of. Their own schools, they had their own police, they had their own banks, even their own time zone, half an hour different. So they were in charge of that, and the situation was so that there was a clear ethnic divide between the Tamil communities and the Sinhalese communities. And the Sport for Development program that I worked with in the country that I researched on was trying to facilitate development between those warring ethnic groups. Okay, so the projects were Sinhalese, Tamil and Muslim inter-community initiatives that were started by communities who wanted to do something about the situation and reconcile and somehow get into inter-community contact on a local level. The programs were then facilitated by an NGO, a German-based NGO called Asian German Sports Exchange Program, or AGSEP, who helped to facilitate or helped to establish those programs across the country. So there's a regular Sport for Development program that runs sort of on an ongoing basis, a bit like Magic Bus. But then there was also the opportunity for highlight events, which was events that were on a larger scale and attracted more people in the main centres of Colombo and Kandy, and also Batticaloa and some in the north in Livonia. So these were larger events that were trying to highlight the achievements of Sport for Development and try to create awareness not only within the group of people that participated, but the wider community of the work that sport can achieve in development and reconciliation. So I wanted to just focus on two things for today to introduce this. I wanted to identify the roles and responsibilities of those change agents, the international group that facilitated the projects, in facilitating Sport for Development reconciliation projects. Because we had the belief that maybe those international organisations and the people working for that have a slightly different role in reconciliation than they have in normal development. And the second one was the role of highlight events. What do they actually contribute and why are they there? So without going into the methodology and all of this, these were some of the key findings. Okay, we've got 8 distinct roles that these organisers, the change agents, were fulfilling in their work in sport for development. Many of them would be very similar to Magic Bus, to many of the practical organisations that you're coming from. An agent for participation, trying to get people to participate. Difficult, of course, if you're from a context where you've got a divide between communities. How do you actually get them to participate and engage in a reconciliation project? Networker and integrator. Networking was also in terms of finding the right sponsors. The media had to come on board, trying to facilitate the network and integrate the different sites, making sure Tamil, Muslim, Sinhalese representation was guaranteed. Developer of skills and resources, you see there, skills, life skills in terms of swimming skills, very important after the tsunami disaster that happened in Sri Lanka in 2004. Many kids were very scared of water, and trying to develop that skill was significant, particularly for fishing villages and the kids that were out in the water every day but were really scared of it. Being an idealist and advocate, that related a lot to the work of volunteers in this space who tried to bring their experience and knowledge from external, from Sri Lanka into Sri Lanka, and trying to be positive about the idea of reconciliation. And then there's a crucial one, an impartial mediator or trust builder, which is, I think I touched on this before, which is a crucial element when it comes to reconciliation, peace building, conflict resolution. But you had an impartial organiser, in this case German background, trying to facilitate contact and trust, build trust between Sinhalese, Tamil and Muslim groups. Without that, many of the projects would have simply not happened. Management expert, I think this is something that you all do, managing these projects. Being flexible as well, coming into Sri Lanka, of course, cricket had to be played at these sessions, but there's also customs that had to be respected that we as outsiders weren't aware of. You see a photo of a tea session. It was 3 o'clock, there was tea time, so the sessions just stopped and they had tea at the pool. Wasn't the initial plan, but it was flexible enough to get that integrated into the program. And then the long-term planning was something that was very important, and not really something that everyone thought of when they started these initiatives. And that's something I wanted to highlight. Next one. Okay, so here we did the research and looked at the, well, first we identified the different roles and responsibilities, looked at what the international guys said, looked at what the communities said. And I want to really focus on the last two here. The communities said financial support. Yes, we need financial support from the international group as a donor, as a funder. The international said, well, we have initial financial support, but really in the long run, we can't support this forever. So we have to develop into a program that's sustainable to be independent without financial support from the international group. And the long-term planning goes hand in hand with that. It was something that the internationals had in mind, but for the local communities, which is understandable, they were happy to get the program up and running and weren't really thinking of the long-term initially. So I think bringing that knowledge together was an important step towards making sure that these programs would be sustained and happening in the long term. So that's one example of how research can really show there's differences and we can bring that together and learn from it. And the final one, the role of those events, the bigger events, so those ones that attract people to come along that are normally not involved in the regular sessions in Sport for Development. What we realised was that when you look at the level of excitement and appeal on the one axis and then the Sport for Development program over time, those events were really able to create a sort of excitement between the people that were participating, but also excitement for the community to come along and support this idea. Many people who were newly introduced to Sport for Development. And through these events, you're trying to create a moment of excitement, and it's the same sort of for us as academics, as practitioners, even this conference here. It's an exciting moment where you, again, share your experiences, where you learn from others, and you probably get more people, those ones that probably weren't too involved in this space beforehand, to come in and support this movement. So over time, those highlight events were able to generate a larger involvement and excitement for the space. Next one. Okay, lessons learned, final one. Those change agents, internationals, I think are crucial when it comes to reconciliation projects. International organisations have a role to play. They have to obviously move out of this space eventually, but to start with, it was an important factor that it wasn't a Tamil run, a Sinhalese run project, but an independent one. created a lot of trust. Local input and commitment obviously necessary to have those programs to be sustained, and for that to happen, we talked about it before, transfer of responsibility and control so that local communities are eventually working on this independently. The time factor is a critical one, and I know it's also a critical one here. So the time factor, this is not happening overnight. It's not happening in a one-year project, and this is something I want to say. If you get funding for 1 year, unless you've got a plan to sustain it, you have to think about your program again. Cultural restrictions, yep. Certainly in swimming sessions there was a lot of cultural restrictions, and some of the, especially the Muslim girls, came in their full gear, and that of course wasn't easy to teach swimming to someone in full gear. But there's ways around it, and the programs have to adjust. And then the final one was the concept of leadership, which is not so much in the Sri Lankan context, but something to think about when we talk about leadership skills. Different cultures value this concept of leadership very differently. In the country where I'm currently working in Australia, if you talk to an Aboriginal kid about leadership, it's not something that you learn, but something that's inherited, and that's probably the same in many other countries and cultures around the world. So I think this cultural aspect of making sure we understand the customs and bring them in is a crucial one. Okay, and that's where I leave it. Thank you very much, and we can talk about the rest in the discussion. Thank you.
May I ask Rama, please, to share her experiences and provide us with a brief 5-minute presentation?
Thank you. I'm more comfortable doing it from here. Hello, is this working? Yeah, thank you. It's very interesting for me to go right after Nico, especially because I come from a context where a local community which had gone through a very major conflict and turmoil in the city of Bombay, decided to take control of its own resources and figure out how to work out a conflict resolution plan for the community. So, which is why it's interesting to go right after you, because you spoke about an international organization going to Sri Lanka and trying to see what sports can do there. Yeah, well, can we go on to the next slide, please? Yeah. So, I'll basically base my experience somewhat at the conceptual level and try and unpack what it takes for sport and other related methodologies and tools to work in a post-conflict society. Yeah? So, my experience of working in a post-conflict society in a community for over the last 13 years or so has helped me realize how it is extremely important to move beyond a local community approach to understanding that we are global citizens. And we operate in a world which is extremely multicultural, not just in India, it being one of the biggest multicultural countries in the world. Even apart from that, positioning each individual as an agency to build and operate amidst diversity. Which is why my approach towards peace building and inclusion is basically approaching it in its complex whole and trying to understand what are the various strands that go into peace building, drawing upon community resources to build an inclusion, and utilizing sport for large-scale impact. So if you look at this, sport is really just a tool in that sense, however, a very, very powerful tool to influence inclusion. Yes. Going over from here, let us look at the elements of a post-conflict society. And Nico did touch upon some of those. So breakdown of relationships, cultural, social, and economic, mistrust and alienation. We work in a community setting where we have seen how physical ghettos have been formed. And so what happens in a post-conflict society? A community goes through conflict, tries and gets into ghettos of the mind, which translates into further ghettoization, which is physical in nature. And this community, which has been marginalized, alienated, starts harboring mistrust not just against the communities around them, but also against a state, which it fears has failed to protect the rights of such a community, which is where the construction of an anti-state narrative comes up. If you look at it, especially in the context of India, we have had such narratives across regions, across states of India, time and again. The community where I work underwent conflict after the breaking down of a mosque in Ayodhya. Ayodhya is a small little place in Uttar Pradesh, north of India, largely disconnected from the place where we work, regionally. However, sentimentally, culturally, and otherwise, there was a resonance of what happened in the north of India, in the west of India, which is Bombay, and where we work. We have realized how an anti-state narrative has paved the way for structural discrimination. We have seen how basic services and access to basic services has been a very, very big challenge in communities such as these. And then comes a very, very gendered space. So when I say ghettoization, and Nico was talking about, the cultural restrictions, so women really become passive receptors and non-initiators. How can we use sport for building multicultural citizens? I stress upon this, citizens, and not just individuals, because we need to move beyond, understanding ourselves as merely individuals with one single identity. We need to take the leap from a single identity to a multiple identity paradigm, where we need to understand that as individuals we operate in a very, very diverse space, and which is where it matters most if we start very, very young, with children. So playing with children who must transgress borders. It's very interesting. I say transgress. I do not say just breaking down barriers. It does involve challenging some of the status quos inherent in the society, which is why I say transgress. And as we take questions later, we can go deeper into these issues. And then I say influencing where it can impact, working with parents. So if you look at it, we start working with children, and then it really radiates out. Working with parents, gradually working with leaders, so building capacities of leaders, and that's how it is going to make it sustainable. Creating access where it makes meaning. So influencing and building capacities of teachers in schools. The context where I work, we have been organizing an inter-school sport meet for children from ghettos, from Hindu and Muslim ghettos, for over the last 10 years now. And this is the first year where we realized that we are not really making great impact, because the teachers probably do not understand why we are doing it. They have been looking upon it only as a platform for sport. And this is the first year where we took on a massive exercise on advocacy and building perspectives of teachers themselves around the need to utilize sport as a tool for peace building. And that is where we started seeing the impacts. And then building resources through sustainable spaces, advocating with the governments, and creating global coalitions for sport and peace. The next step. My question really is sport enough? And what can we do to integrate many of the other methodologies along with sport? So the other thing that I want to bring in today is deepening the local and impacting the global. One of my contentions and dilemmas has been that in spaces like these, we often miss out people who are active stakeholders in the process of conflict resolution. So one of the next steps for me would be really to go back and do something on a smaller scale, but very similar to what is happening here locally, and really trying to help people there understand what are the linkages and the fact that we live in an interconnected world. We live in a political world. And personally, I believe that we cannot detach ourselves from politics if we really want to impact change. We cannot do it. We have to impact change. So what are the different strategies and ways in which we can build around the personal, the political, and the rest of the people around us. And gender mainstreaming, moving beyond, really the tokenism of participation. And moving beyond saying that, 10 girls have been participating in my program, and that is huge, really huge, because they come from such and such cultural background, which does not advocate girls playing. I would say, have we been able to impact or challenge the status quo within their families, which makes participation meaningful? I have an example from the community where I work. I know of a boy who did not want his sister to come out and join the soccer group that we had initiated in the community. Gradually, 6 months down the line, this boy has started sharing the responsibility of household chores with his sister to ensure that she can actually come out and play. And that is what set me thinking about actually challenging the status quo and decreasing this whole tokenism about girls participating, and then going back and facing the same stereotypes and discrimination at home and within their families. I really wanted to set a context without going into specific illustrations, and this would help us engage in a more meaningful discussion later. Thank you.
Thanks, Rama. And we'll go on to the presentation from our youngest panelist, Abdul. We're looking forward to this one, Abdul.
Good morning, everyone. So, first of all, I want to just say thanks to Magic Bus for arranging such a conference where people can share their ideas and learn more things about sports. So, first of all, I'm just Abdul Qadir Samini. Just want to introduce myself. Working for Uzbekistan in Kabul, Afghanistan. Afghanistan, which is in the media already, you guys have the picture of Afghanistan, what it is. Maybe a guy coming with a beard and like a big turban. Yeah, that is what you guys think. And maybe you guys, when you heard that Afghanistan, maybe you guys think, oh, security problem, big thing. No. Maybe most of you guys are interested of coming to Afghanistan to visit because it's a mountainous country. People are more hospitable, and they will more things you guys can do there. But the problem, main thing is security. Should I go to that country or not? Should I do something in this country? Is it a risk or not? So first of all, I want to just ask from our technical team to play the video that I have from Uzbekistan, where usually the girls which are doing skateboarding. So maybe a little bit light down, so you will see the video. Hopefully it will take few seconds until it is uploading. So in the video it says what Uzbekistan is doing, what our programs is, why we are working for the kids. So first of all I want to say, maybe just, I don't know, should I start with the presentation or should I start with the video? Just few seconds, then okay, then I can just move on 1 or 2 pages of my presentation of the PowerPoint, then I can just go ahead. So Uzbekistan began in 2007. Australian guy called by the name of Oliver Perkovich came to Afghanistan. Didn't have any hope to build a sports NGO. He didn't knew that he will come to Afghanistan, made an organization under the name of Uzbekistan for doing skateboarding. Nothing was available, no idea, nothing. When he actually, according to when I joined Uzbekistan in 2009, the work was started in 2007. When he was skateboarding in the fountain, he realized that when he was skateboarding, many kids were around him, and they were watching the skateboarding game, and they were laughing and having fun. So later on, how it started, this and that, you guys can see in the theory of our organization. So when I joined Skatistan in 2009, I live in a province which is called Jowzjan, 600 kilometers far away from Kabul. And it's like 12-11 hours of car coming and going. I just moved out to Kabul for doing my university. I was a university student of Bachelor of Science in Finance, which is BBA. And then one of my friends, he just told me, there's a newly organization indoor facility open in the Olympic ground, which is looking for volunteers. And the main volunteer is, you have to translate in the classroom. An international or foreign person, they will teach, and you have to translate and do the facilitating the classroom. I told him, okay, let's go and see how it is. Then I just went there. When I saw the facility, like what is Skatistan, when you will see in the video too, I was just shocked that something, is this a real or not? Is the building which I am watching here, is a many ramps, classrooms, upstairs, office, many computers, laptops, internet. I was just shocked that is it real or not? Then basically I just went to there and gave an interview, because during that time the voluntary job was not that much famous, that if you become volunteer, you have to go and do volunteer job. And at the time also I had to support my education, because I moved out from one town to another town to do my university. Okay, I thought, okay, this organization is very good, working for the kids, so let's join. I gave an interview. They asked me like 3 pages of questions. I was thinking like, I'm being as a volunteer and they're asking me 3 pages, what is this? Then I just basically answered the question. That was Thursday. The Thursday I went for the interview and I just answered the 3 pages of questions. They were asking me, oh, children. I was thinking, why? No one take care of us, 25, 30 years old guys. No one take care of them. But these guys are asking the questions all about under 18-year-old children, how you have to treat them, what you have to doing, and how you are holding the situation in your family with your younger brother or younger sister. I was thinking like, okay, just answer whatever I have. That's the good that I have like a big family, which usually like 4 sisters and 5 brothers. That was good that I knew how to deal with my brothers, how to deal with my sisters. I just went down and answered the questions. Then I was thinking, okay, when I went back to dormitory, I was thinking, why they ask me this many questions? Is it gonna be like, are they paying me? Or what is happening? Then we realized like, they told me, we will give you a call on Sunday, and because we are Friday, we are off in our country, you are selected or not? On Sunday I was sitting in the classroom, just waiting for the call. Are they gonna give me a call that should I join them or not? Just waiting. In our country, the technical things are working, but not working very well comparing to here and comparing to South Korea, which I have been there. But it's working. So suddenly they were calling me, and the phone was not working. It was 11:45 that I had a phone number from them. I was thinking, should I call them or should I didn't call them? No, why I should lose my pride? Why I should call them? It's a volunteer job. I should just wait for their call. Like then 11:45, my heart couldn't wait. Then I just gave them a call. There was a German girl, a skateboarder, Sophie Fischer. I just called her, hey, good morning, Sophie. I'm Abdul Qudus Amini. I just gave interview for being as a volunteer. Is there any call or something? She told me, we are trying since 2 hours to call you, but your phone is not working. That was interesting. I told her, oh, when I can come? She told me, come this afternoon. We will make a schedule for you. Like which days you should come, because in our culture is different. Like sports, yeah, we believe that it's a big thing that can change our country. But the problem is, we have to take care of lots of our things about our culture. If you want to do sports, implement sports, girls' day we should have different, boys' day we should have different. Then they told me, told me, you can come Monday, Thursday, and Wednesday in the classrooms, 2 hours. And the best thing, they offered me the transportation money. I was very happy about that, because I could come and go, so I can use something for my own money. When I joined Skatistan, just 3 months I was volunteer there. Like 1 week we had workshop of theater program. For that I just told, because I saw the place is very interesting, this and that. I told no problem, I will just miss 1 week of my university. They were pushing me, no, you don't have to miss your university. I told them no, because maybe 1 week is better than 1 month or 2 months of learning. That's all. So then on Thursday again the same thing happened. All over Breakaway, our director, he just came and told me, what is your schedule in university? I told him 8 to 4, 8 to 12. I'm in university. I can be available after 1 p.m. until 4 p.m. He told me, are you prepared to get it? Are you looking for a job? I was thinking, yes, of course, I'm looking for the job. He told me, come on Saturday afternoon. You will have an interview panel. If you're selected, then you can get a job. And otherwise, you can continue be as a volunteer. So I couldn't wait. When it will be Saturday? Like 2 days? It took me like 2 years. Thursday, Friday. So I just went on Saturday morning, did the interview, then I was selected as education coordinator, assistant to education coordinator. Slowly. Then I was assigned as education coordinator. Where we have to make a schedule for our kids. Why we have to teach the kids? What we should teach the kids? When I see the programs, each and everything, I don't know. Should I go by video or should I just go ahead with talking something? Okay, I will just go continue until it's okay. Until it's going the video is okay. And one thing I should just tell you, this is my first conference when I'm speaking, so maybe. So when I assigned as an education coordinator, I was making the schedule for the students. That was interesting for me because the foreign NGOs in Afghanistan, foreign staff there, but they assigned Afghan person as an education coordinator to make the schedule for the students. What they have to do. So what was important there? We were going in the classroom, asking the kids, what do you like to learn? Basically the most answer was English computer. Then when we were having meeting with the staff, like, oh, we have to make a schedule for English and computer so kids can get a job as a translator to many ISAF forces or many other NGOs which are looking for the computer and English skills, which is a little difficult to find because English is our maybe third or fourth language. First our language is Pashto, then the language is Dari, and my father is Uzbek, so my third language is Uzbek, so the fourth language is English. So this a little bit, it takes time to learn English, and most NGOs are looking for the people to communicate in English because different countries, different cultures, different things. So later on, moving on, then I was moved to student administrator to making file and folders for the students, slowly, because I'm telling these stories, it is built up from the start. When I joined 2009 December, we had indoor facility funded by a few embassies, which was very nice for helping us. Then I just moved to student administrator. After that, I moved to finance assistant. Then I was assigned as a operation manager. Then I was assigned as a finance officer because I had skills in finance, because I studied Bachelor of Science in Finance. Then basically in 2012, like one day, our previous site manager, he went to Australia. He had some family problem, that's why he was. Then suddenly there was lots of people in the organization. Our director came and told me, Abdul, you are assigned as a site manager. I was thinking, okay, no problem, I will continue. Didn't have any experience, nothing. How to deal with government offices, what to do with other offices when there's a problem, how to deal with that. I just told, okay. Basically he told me, don't listen here and there, don't listen to people, just keep your head down, do your work, and ask as much questions you can ask. You should go ahead with the questions as much you can ask. So from that time, I started as a volunteer and I was working as site manager. And there are our programs with this Kurdistan. So maybe go ahead with the presentation. I will just do like pages of my presentation so I can show there's something written in there. So Kurdistan began with the first indoor facility for females sports in Afghanistan, Kabul. It's the biggest indoor facility in the country. We started in 2009, then we had main office, slowly, by one organization. We made our main office in Berlin, because I told one or two friends of my here from Germany, I just told them, because you guys have a good system, banking, everything is on time, so sorry, we selected your country we have a main office there. After that, we just made a Kurdistan in Cambodia. Then we made another facility inside Afghanistan, which is in another province, Mazar Sharif. Then, and we have a new project in end of this month in South Africa, where my friend will be there. So, how does Kyrgyzstan grow well? Why a skateboard, like a tail of skateboard with 4 tires, is going this much high? Next slide, please. Next slide. Our vision is to grow sustainably, to help the youth in any possible way they want, so they can become future creative leaders. They can be by through arts, creative arts. They have a hope, so they can go be in the future a role models. Next slide. What's our activities? Why we are doing work the children between 5 to 8? We have 400 students in our base project, 40% of them girls, and 50% of our students are working on the streets. Why? They're working on the streets. And why we selected to work with mostly students who are working on the street? Because of the war, because of internal fighting, because of some other political issues. The kids have lost their families. Some of their kids their fathers are disabled. So that's why these kids have to work on the street to earn money to support their family. And we believe that these kids can have a very bright future, because just only one skateboard, I think, and maybe I'm taking lots of time, I will just try my best to make it short. Just one skateboard. As next slide. What are our values? Why we are successful? Why we have made this many projects? Why it's getting a... We really care about the quality of work. We don't care quantity of work. Oh, we have this many offices, we have this many students, we should go ahead, we go ahead. No. We just really care about quality. Ownership. The kids, when they're coming to our project, they should really feel that ownership of the project. Creativity, trust, respect, equality. Why trust? Working in a Muslim country is not easy when you're a foreign NGO. You have to make a trust between the community, between the people, so they can send their girls, daughters or boys to my country, to your organization, to learn, to do sports or whatever. Next slide. So how is Kyrgyzstan used? I will just go very small, so whenever you want to see, you can read whatever it has. So we have two programs. One is called regular classes, which happens 5 days a week. Only 1 day and 2 hours a kid can come to this program, which is 1 hour they're learning creative arts, and 1 hour they're doing skateboard. In creative arts, we are teaching many different life skills, because the kids are working on the street. They have heard lots of things. Oh, being a doctor, being an engineer is a good thing. If you're a doctor or you're an engineer, you can earn lots of money. Or you can do whatever you want if you're a doctor or engineer. So in here, we are improving life skills, teaching different studies, different education things by photography, theater, importance of, just our previous semester was importance of animals in life. Which animals to take care, which animals shouldn't take care. This semester we have nutrition, how to take care. So these are our main subjects that we are teaching in our regular classes. And we have another program which is called Back to School program. The kids who have lost their parents, or their parents are disabled, and they didn't have any opportunity to go to regular schools. There wasn't any right direction to tell them, oh, you can work on the streets like 3 or 4 or 5 hours or 6 hours, but you have to go to school. Because education is an important thing which can change the community or change even the country. So in this program, we have student support officer going on the streets looking for the kids who are not going to regular schools. Kids wants to go to school, but the problem is kids are shy. If they are saying, oh, should I go to school? If the principal will talk with me, if the teachers will talk with me, the front gate guard will let me in, so if I'm going to school or not. So that's why student support officer is going, so I will just now talk with. Yeah, okay. I will just go very fast. So, in here, sorry, I have lots of things to do. I didn't know, like, managing all of them in this set. So, there, our student support officer is recognizing those kids and going to the families, visiting their families, and talking and telling them importance of education, what is the importance of education. And we are, only for this program, we are just giving transportation to male and female students. So the car can go and pick them up from where they're working and coming to our program, 1.5 hour learning in the classroom the school subjects. In this program, we are teaching first, second, and third grade regular school subjects. When the year is end, we are recruiting them back to our to government local school, which is in 4th grade. They are giving exam, and after passing exam, they are going back to the regular schools. So. And okay, so I will just stop here because lots of things to say, lots of other things. Is it possible to show? Oh, I have some pictures there for my presentation. So we are engaging our community by having different events. So I will just explain the pictures. So video maybe later on you can show. Here the students are doing national anthem, singing, our female students. Next slide, please. Now in this I will hurry up. Next slide, please. So in here we are just giving certificates to encourage our volunteers to be with us. Maybe I should just stop. So in here, we have also a program for our disabled students. We are looking for their ability, we are not looking for their disability. It's the important point for us. We are giving opportunity also to our disabled students so they can improve their self. Next slide. So we have number of female students who are coming there, 1 hour skateboarding, 1 hour teaching. Next slide. I think I should stop maybe. We have rock concerts for our students so they can feel only the concerts are not for the rich people. So the kids can enjoy the concerts. Next slide. So we are also going to some organizations like this was UN Habitat Day. We went there. Next slide. We went there and we had a skateboarding demonstration to show people what Skate-san is. We have picture with the mayor of the city. We have UN Habitat president there and showing what Skate-san is, teaching them. We have again disabled students. Next slide. Skate-san is not only just skateboarding. We have multi-sports area, volleyball, football, basketball, different thing. And this picture, can you please back? This picture is the president of Afghanistan Olympic Committee. No, he is president of Afghanistan Olympic Committee, and the right hand, she is the deputy of Olympic Committee. And here they're watching our climbing demo, which our students are doing. Next slide. Here in the classroom, students just brought the cake and Pepsis to celebrate the Teacher Day, where we didn't know that the students will. We were not hoping anything that students will bring anything. Next slide and the last slide. So that was our female students, and these are our male students. And thanks everyone for your nice time to giving me.
So I'm going to start out by saying something about how technology works in some country and not in others, right? So that's the excuse I'm making right now for all these, for the buffering and the mics malfunctioning and things like that. But thank you, Abdul. For your first conference, I think you were a very assertive panelist, so well done. Congratulations on that, and thanks for a very engaging presentation. We go into a presentation by Dr. Sudesh, who is from Chhattisgarh, and he's going to speak about some of the initiatives and some of the work that's happening in the central part of the country, which is in India, which is particularly conflict-ridden.
Thank you. I will directly take you to Sukma, that is in Chhattisgarh, from Afghanistan. from Afghanistan. I am directly taking him to Chhattisgarh. We used to say Chhattisgarh as a new state, and we used to say this for last 14 years, that Chhattisgarh is a new state. Please, next slide. So in India, you can see the Chhattisgarh location, and Sukma is in the down side, yellow. Mainly, let us discuss about the problems in tribal areas. It is very difficult to open new schools because the population is scarcely populated. Teachers don't want to join in these areas, and Naxalism is prevailed there. Relief camps are arranged for Naxal areas. Special protection groups are formed among the tribals. Construction work of school building is very difficult in these areas, so we have started constructing portable cabins with the help of bamboo structures, and dormitories with 500 children are being constructed. More residential schools in these areas are opened. Next please. No proper monitoring mechanism in place. Monitoring is very risky in these Naxal areas. Teachers avoid joining. Teachers absenteeism is there because of Naxal affected areas. Next. Most of the teachers working there are untrained, poorly equipped teachers, alienated curriculum, and language issues. There are different tribal languages in one class, so that language issue is also there. Teachers are posted from other districts, they don't know the tribal language. Then delay in supplying of basic facilities, whatever from government side we try to provide, it is stuck in between block or district headquarters, so it is always delayed. Next. Atmosphere of terror prevails everywhere. Children are forced to act as informers. Law of jungle or governed by the Naxals. Informers are tortured, and there is a insecurity among police or force also. School buildings are damaged. More than 500 buildings during last few years are demolished, and lack of infrastructure or basic facilities, and funds are not utilized properly. Government tries to support these areas by providing lot of funds, but it is not utilized properly. Next. Parents are engaged in earning their bread. They are not much to the education. Next. Children support their families. They have to support the families in earning. These are the situations there. Next. No special future plan in these areas. Next. Market full of duplicate products. When you go through market, the name, spellings are changed, and all the duplicate products are sold in these areas. Next. Local fair and festivals are the only means of entertainment in these areas. Next. The people there are down to earth. Next. Then superstition is a major problem in this tribal area. I met this child. He is not supposed to cut his hair because the parents feel that bhoot aa jayega, something like that, so the children is growing his hair. Next. And soft targets for children, Naxals are these type of children need proper care and engagement, because these days Naxals take these children, and it is very easy to change their mindset, and they use these children as their shelters, shields. Next. Need additional training and mentoring for teachers. Teachers are not aware of the teaching methodologies. Next. Copying is the main task. Means whenever you go to visit classroom, you will find teachers working on the blackboard with backs towards the students, and they just copy whatever is written in the textbook. Next. Delay in distribution of materials are stuck in between. Next. Victim of this is one of the teachers whose parents were killed in Naxal attack. Next. Children suffer many health problems. Wherever you go, you find many children suffering from skin problem or other problems. Next. Many challenged children are waiting for special care and attention. Please. Next. And these are some of the pictures of dilapidated building. They are bomb blasted by the Naxals so that schools are closed. Next. whose turn today? There is no certainty of life. Public meeting also, during public meeting they use weapons. Next. You can see children using weapon. Next. And as there are no school buildings, so students are supposed to live in the same place and study in the same place. So stay and learn is. Then UNICEF tried to provide some school, this type of small shelters. Next. We can skip this. Please, next. These are the bamboo structures. Actually, we used to get funds for school building construction, but Naxals never allowed to construct a building because the moment the building was constructed, military used to occupy the building. So Naxals never allowed construction of building. So we were not able to utilize the funds. So later we came to know that there is this type of bamboo structures which we can construct, and we used to construct school building with 500 students capacity on the roadside. We used to collect funds from the different village school building and use it in roadside, so that these type of buildings are called portable cabins where students, I can show some of the picture. Next please. These are the building, outside building. Next. These are some of the designs on the bamboo structure in the school building. These are the inside where students live. They are away from parents because of this problem. Next. Look, the government has given weapons to the local youth so that they can protect their community. So this is also created a problem that youths are given weapons as a local force. Next. Next. Risk of misdirection. The youth after passing 12th, they are not given employment, so there is a risk of misdirection. Next. Children are being used as a shelter and messengers. Next. Urgent steps needed to give them better opportunities. Please, next. They all want peace. Next. Next, please. Next, please. Next. Please. Next. All these situations created an opportunity or circumstances to UNICEF to start the project Sports for Development, and under this project, next. Total primary schools covered were 127, middle school 30, and some residential schools were also covered under this project. Next. The strategy was to training at least one teacher from each school, training of community sports coach, supply of sports kit in the selected school, and regular follow-up of school and community visit, and build up the capacity of teachers. Next. Next. These were the indicators for children, teachers, and school. Next. These are some of the pictures of the activities under this project. Next. Next, please. Next, please. Next. Next. The strength of the program integrated into classroom routine through physical education cards and meaningful engagement of children residing in residential school, emotional support in conflict areas, and improved the morale of children, improved hand-eye coordination, general health and overall development, and Khel Mitras. These are the young people from community taken as Khel Mitras to support this program. Next. Weakness: the cost of sports kit was too high to scale up by the government in all schools. No provision for replacement of items in sport kits. Only 2 experts to support 80 schools. Negligence on the part of teachers to run the program, and no proper mechanism for regular support and monitoring, and no incentives for Khel Mitras. Next. Opportunities: if we scale up this program, we can have the compliance of RT. Then sports officials we have sport official at block level and district level, but their services are utilized once in a year to organize large scale competition, and also we can regularly use these sports official if we scale up this program. Textbook revision should be taken care of. School community linkage is possible effectively, and out of school children could be brought back. We can improve free service and in-service for sports issue and link PICA with other this program and explore possibility of CSR funds to supply of sports kit in these schools, and could start with local sport and locally available material. These are the opportunities we can use. Threats, I don't want to go to threats. Let's guide sports. Okay, now let's go to the last but one slide. This I realized because I work in pedagogy, and while making this slide, I realized that Mahatma Gandhi, Tagore, Krishnamurti all spoke of all-round development, all-round drawing out of the best in child, and I felt that what is the best answer other than sports for this, to take out the best in child. Thank you. Last slide, please.
Thank you, Dr. Satish. I know you came with a very well-prepared presentation, and thank you for being really brief about it. Dr. Ranjan.
Yes. Thank you very much, Bobby, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I am not having any presentation, and the topic is how sports can play an important role in post-disaster. We have listened a lot, and we are. This is our learning. Like sports is not a kind of new element in development sector, but so far as the disaster is concerned, and especially the post-disaster. Disaster, we know, we go in a kind of delivery mode, and it's open for all. But so far as the rehabilitation is concerned, the post-disaster is concerned, the real crisis starts, and how sports can play an important role there. I think this is an important learning I am having, and I think the most important learning for me, because I was part of the Gujarat earthquake program, and the disaster and relief and rehabilitation program, as well as the tsunami relief and rehabilitation program, Chennai, Kannur, and Indonesia. And also I was part of the Bihar, I think you must have heard the Kosi flood. It was one of the, I think, the largest flood relief program which Government of India organized there in Bihar. So I was part of that, and so based on the learning of all these relief and rehabilitation work, especially the post-disaster, the real crisis when that starts, and lots of conflict, lots of vested interest, lots of the social, the dynamics, group dynamics. I think most of the things starts after that, because there is a kind of big conflict between the have and haves not, and many people, the reason, the class, then also the religious issues are also coming. When I was in Gujarat, lots of religious issue, even in Bihar, lots of class kind of conflict. So based on, and we know this fact very well, that if you have to work in post-disaster, if you have to real work for the post-disaster, and we know that during the crisis, the psychosocial part is the most important thing. Apart from that, the entry point for any development organization, because I was associated with Care International there, and I was part of the Care International for all these relief and rehabilitation program. So the entry point was a crucial task for all of us. And the second was how the collective actions, how to mobilize people, how to bring them together, how to take them together so that we can reach to the right people, the most needy people, how we can take care of the most needy, and especially that gender part can also be addressed, like woman-headed family, like the last person of the society, how we can reach. And especially during the preparation of this interim shelter, say for the community toilets preparation, health and medical services, the livelihood part. So based on the learning, sports played a very, very important role. How to bring the youth together, how to prepare a kind of community-based, the local community group there, and how they can be part of all kinds of survey and then analysis, then how to reach and what best can be done for the people. And one more thing, what I have observed that even during the post-disaster, the sports in most of the time was taken a kind of ad hoc measure. It was not a kind of very systematic tool, like how to reach to the most marginalized society, the most marginalized people. Rather, it was taken a kind of ad hoc. And but during the tsunami, and especially the program which we are having in Kanyakumari, that was a kind of long-term program. So fortunately, we learned this, like the engagement of community, engagement of youth group for a long time, and how to best use the sports so that it's not a kind of who is winning and who is losing. Rather, they kind of bring all of them together. Rather to have a kind of healthy discussion among all the team members, all the group members, and how they can decide what is good for the society. So that was the learning, and based on that, in our organization, we also create a kind of cadre of the people, those who are taking this agenda forward, like how during the crisis, like the camp management. Like after the disaster, when the post-disaster, the camp management, like so many people are there in the camp. Our male, female, they all are there. The sanitation is an issue. The food distribution is an issue. So how from the camp, how they will go back to their original place, and how when we are preparing the interim shelter, how they can go back. So that process was not at all an easy process. Rather, it was a very, very tough when the social issues were come up. Like yes, they should go first. We want to stay here. So that type of situation was there, and the sports, like how the harmony was created, and they prepared the plan how to take it forward, how to prepare a roster, and who can go, and how best can the group can also support them to rehabilitate them once again. So this is the learning I am having, and I think lots of things, learning is also lots of things has to be done, because like the organizations hardly like they are providing that capacity to the functionaries, like how the sports can play an important role there. But yes, sports is having that capacity to play an important role. So that is number one. Second, the tools which I talked about, like what are the tools can be used? Even when we are going for the sports, what exactly we are going to measure, and how that can help to the community. Then the third, like the engagement of government, because that conviction is not there among them. Many people are not having that conviction, especially the government. Like yes, sports can also play an important role during the disaster and the pre-disaster, post-disaster. So that is the also important advocacy agenda, how we can go ahead. And the fourth one is, when we are going for the disaster preparedness plan, especially the disaster preparedness, how this component can be addressed among the disaster preparedness, so that that capacity can be built. So these are my learning which I thought to share, and thank you very much, Abobi, for the time given to me. And I think this will bring lots of energy to discuss among ourselves, and we will find out some good solution from this workshop, and also from the places where we are working. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Dr. Anjan. I think let's open it up to the audience right now. I just want to flag off a couple of things here. So we're talking about the use of sport for development as a methodology in areas that have been struck by a disaster of some kind or have been conflict-ridden. So we're looking at things in that specific context and trying to understand how and what kind of role sport can play in that. And we've had a range of presentations talking about the possibilities in such scenarios. I've got a zillion questions in my head, but because I agreed I would be democratic, unfortunately, I will open it out to the audience. Let's take perhaps 3 or 4 questions and have the panel answer them, and we'll go in for another round. The only condition to this is we can have a second round if we're brief on both sides. So that's a bit of a gentle reminder on both sides, yeah? Okay, cheers.
Yes, Arik Vaibhav from Finland again. Just Thank you very much for the nice and interesting presentation. If any of you has had any experiences on sport at the refugee camps, so would you please enlighten us a little bit to what have you done if you have?
Refugee camp?
Refugee camps.
Any other questions?
Hi, my name is Vidisha and I work for Magic Bus. The context of my question is 2006 Kashmir, which provided this unique arena almost of a post-disaster, conflict-ridden society. Yeah, we all know what's happening in Kashmir. I don't have to summarize it for you. But here is a situation where it is two groups, but one group is a community and the other group is an organization, backed by the power of the media, backed by the power of the Indian defense system. And this is the situation. So my question to the panel is, or how do you think approaches which are so positive, like sport for development, can be used to not just for intra-community initiatives, not just to build motivation and maintain some degree of peace within the community, but also to try and build bridges between a community and the state. Thank you.
Hello, my question is to Ms. Rama. Great presentation, I really enjoyed it. Regarding your the issue of identity development that you brought out, right? In my brief research in various sectors of sports, a lot of organizations tend to make a clear stand that they are apolitical and they don't want to engage with politics, and they've had bad experiences sort of working with politics. It's not just with the local political leaders, but also with the government. And they've also claimed that they will have no power to develop identities if political leaders are involved, because they'll have vested interests and all of that. So a lot of development organizations take a stand not to involve with the government at all. So with respect to what you said, what do you think is the best form of engagement with the government?
Let's see one more question.
My name is... Hello, my name is Zafar Khan and I'm from Jungle Cruise Foundation. My question is to Abdul. I worked a few years in Afghanistan also, worked with kids, but we've never worked on developing or asking kids on political, to demonstrate what they think about the political situation in Afghanistan. As Kate is done, do you encourage kids to also give their point of view on the political situation in Afghanistan? And what do they think about it? I mean, it'd be quite interesting to know, because of your experience all these years, what do they think about the country and the situation?
So we just go to the panel now and let people respond.
I have with me Mr. Vikas, who has experience of working with the camps. So I would like him to respond to this. Yeah, Mr.
Good afternoon, all of you.
So we're going to have Vikas just answer the question that this gentleman here asked about sport, the use of sport in refugee area, in camp areas. And Vikas is going to speak in Hindi, so we'll go to the translation first.
बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन पूछा सर ने यहाँ पर कि रिफ्यूजी कैंप में स्पोर्ट्स का क्या रोल रहता है, क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है। मुझे लगता है स्पोर्ट्स का बहुत बड़ा रोल है, जो कि हम 3-4 दिन से कॉन्फ्रेंस में देखते आ रहे हैं। स्पोर्ट्स की इंपॉर्टेंस में बात भी करते हैं। मैंने खुद इसमें 3 साल रहकर काम किया है, जो कि मेरे साथी हैं डॉक्टर सुधीश, उन्होंने जो बताया सुकमा काफ़ी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट एरिया है, यहाँ पर काफ़ी सारी परेशानियाँ हैं। गवर्नमेंट ने एक प्रोग्राम चलाया था सलवा जुड़ूम करके छत्तीसगढ़ के अंदर। उसमें क्या हुआ था, गवर्नमेंट ने बोला था कि आप नक्सली सपोर्ट से हट जाइए, आप वापस से हमारे साथ जुड़िए, मेन स्ट्रीम में जुड़िए, हम आपको पूरा सपोर्ट करेंगे, एजुकेशन प्रोवाइड कराएंगे, आपको खाना देंगे, आपको शेल्टर देंगे, आपको सारी चीज़ें प्रोवाइड कराएंगे। बट क्या हुआ उस समय
इतना सारा लोग वापस आ गए, एक साथ आए, तो गवर्नमेंट के लिए ये बहुत मुश्किल हो गया कि उनको किस तरीके से रखें, उनको किस तरीके से सेंटर प्रोवाइड करें, क्योंकि मुझे लगता है मोर देन 50,000 पीपल कम टुगेदर, 50,000 लोग से ज़्यादा एक साथ रहने के लिए आ गए, तो समझ में नहीं आ रहा था गवर्नमेंट को कि क्या हो पाएगा। ऊपर से वो जो नक्सली लोग थे वो उनके अपोज हो गए, जो लोग गाँव को छोड़ दिए नक्सली लोग उनको अपोज हो गए, वो वापस मिलने से उनको मार देते थे, वो टारगेट में हो गए। तो उन सिचुएशंस में जब मैं वहाँ पहुँचा तो शुरुआत में मैं मास्टर ऑफ फिजिकल एजुकेशन, मेरा जो एजुकेशन बैकग्राउंड था, तो मैं भी एकदम नया था स्पोर्ट्स के लिए कि स्पोर्ट्स को कम्युनिटी में कैसे यूज़ करें। उसके बाद अभी तक हम लोगों ने यहाँ जितने भी प्रेजेंटेशन देखे या हम बात करते हैं स्पोर्ट्स की, तो सबसे पहले हमारे दिमाग में क्या आता है, एक अच्छा ग्राउंड, कुछ बच्चे, कुछ एक्टिविटीज़, कुछ इस तरीके से लोग हमारे माइंड में आता है, सेट होता है कि भाई स्पोर्ट्स ये है, स्पोर्ट मतलब स्पेसिफिक स्पोर्ट्स। अब वहाँ पर क्या हो रहा था, जैसे कि सभी बताए यहाँ पर कि अलग अलग लैंग्वेज के लोग थे। जो ट्रैवल क्षेत्र होता है, स्पेशली बात करता हूँ मैं ट्रैवल क्षेत्र की, तो ट्रैवल क्षेत्र में क्या होता है कि अलग अलग लैंग्वेज के लोग होते हैं, एक साथ वो खाना नहीं खाते थे, एक साथ वो प्रेयर नहीं करते थे। तो मैंने वहाँ ऑब्जर्व किया, हमारी टीम थी जो मेरे साथ में एक और थी पूर्णिमा दुबे करके, हमने वो ऑब्जर्व किया यहाँ स्पोर्ट्स हम कैसे कराएं, क्योंकि ग्राउंड था नहीं। मोर देन 10,000 चिल्ड्रन एक रिफ्यूजी कैंप में रह रहे थे, जिसको IDP कैंप्स बोलते हैं। वो 10,000 बच्चे एक साथ रह रहे थे, समझ में नहीं आ रहा था कि इनके साथ क्या करें, कैसे स्पोर्ट्स की एक्टिविटी कराएं। ये बहुत बड़ा चैलेंजिंग अपने आप में था। और जो ग्राउंड था, मुझे लगता है कि वो जो फुटबॉल ग्राउंड होता है, स्टैंडर्ड फुटबॉल ग्राउंड, उसका आधा था, तो बहुत सारा दिक्कत जा रहा था कि कैसे कराएं। और वहाँ पे क्या हो रहा था, एक साथ रहने के साथ गर्मी काफी पड़ती है और क्लाइमेट काफी है उधर, तो खुजली हो रही थी और ना हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम बहुत सारी जा रही थी। और जैसे सर ने बताया कि ये सारी चीजें उसमें हो रही थी एक साथ कैंप में रहने के लिए। अभी हम लोगों ने वहाँ पे क्या किया, यूथ ग्रुप का सपोर्ट लिया रेफ्यूजी कैंप। कुछ यूथ ग्रुप थे जो यंग एज के थे, 18 ईयर एवब थे, उनका हम लोगों ने सपोर्ट लिया, उनको ट्रेनिंग दिया कि स्पोर्ट्स से हम क्या क्या कर सकते हैं। जस्ट पहले उनसे इंट्रोड्यूस हुए, उनके साथ एक गुड रिलेशनशिप बनाया। उसके बाद हम लोग एंगेज किए स्टूडेंट्स को सब स्पोर्ट्स एक्टिविटी को लेकर आए। तो फिर वो एक प्रॉब्लम जा रहा था कि भाई 10,000 बच्चों को एक साथ कैसे खिलाएं, 10,000 चिल्ड्रंस को, मोर देन 10,000 चिल्ड्रन को एक साथ कैसे प्ले कर सकते हैं। उसके लिए हम लोगों ने टीचर के साथ बात की है, टीचर जो वहाँ पर गवर्नमेंट ने ऑलरेडी अपॉइंट किए हुए थे, तो उनसे बात की, एक सिस्टम क्रिएट किया, एक टाइम ड्यूरेशन क्रिएट किया, किस टाइम पर कौन प्लेइंग करेगा। क्योंकि वो जो एरिया होते हैं रिफ्यूजी, मुझे नहीं लगता कि वहां पर है ना एकदम इनिशियली लेवल पर बोलेंगे कि भाई आपको एजुकेशन देनी है। वहाँ दो चीजें सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत होती है, एक तो जिंदा रहने के लिए वो स्ट्रगल करते हैं, दूसरा खाने के लिए स्ट्रगल करते हैं। तो उसमें जो एक स्पोर्ट्स का रोल रहता है, वो साइको सोशल सपोर्ट बहुत ज्यादा करता है। जो बच्चे वहाँ आए हुए हैं, वो अपने गांव को छोड़ चुके हैं, अपने होम टाउन को छोड़ चुके हैं, तो उनको लगता है कि वो वहाँ आते थे तो समझ नहीं पाते थे कि हम लोग भी एकदम आ जाते थे नए, तो उनके सामने समझ नहीं पाते। तो वहाँ पर स्पोर्ट्स का रोल बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट रहा रेफ्यूजी कैंप में। और उसके बाद स्पोर्ट्स के बाद हम जो उन्हें बिहेवियर चेंज मैसेज देते थे, डेवलपमेंट मैसेज देते थे, उनका इफेक्ट वहाँ पर देखने के लिए मिला। थैंक यू।
Let me just quickly translate that, just the response to your question. Basically, he spoke about the fact that at refugee camps, the single largest problem, there are two single largest problems. One is that the space that is available at the camp is used for people's residential purposes. So there's no playground, and that's the primary thing that sport requires. So that's always a challenge. And the second challenge is that there are usually huge numbers of children out there, and it becomes a difficult thing to plan for how you're going to conduct a sport program, in what just the logistics of it are very daunting. So he was speaking about that, and he spoke about how that there are challenges also due to climatic conditions in the area. So there are health challenges and things like that. So it just gets very, there's a lot of things that you have to take into account before you do a sport program. He spoke about what they did, which was to build rapport with youth groups and then work with teachers to set up a timetable so that children could have certain exercises, could do certain sport activities at certain times, and most importantly that they introduced a development component to this, so that post sporting activity there'd be a bit of a debriefing about it, and so that they could reflect on what they were doing in the ground and how it could impact their development. So that was the response that he gave.
All right. I will take this question about being apolitical or not. I will also try and integrate that with Vidisha's question on Kashmir and building bridges between community and the state. Because in fact, that is where I come from when I'm talking about politics. So, you see, I think it's important for all of us, especially all of us who are trying to utilize sport as a medium or a tool, to understand what is politics. We cannot deny that we live in a political world. However, the point to understand is that politics is not restricted to political parties or the government. All of us are political, wherever we are, as individuals. We are politicking all the time, be it with friends, at our workplace, when we go to schools or universities, etc. We are political individuals. So the idea is to build perspectives when we utilize sport as a tool. So, you know, these small debrief things that we talk about, that we do a sporting session and then we do a debrief around development. So how well we utilize it is very important. Are we utilizing that to build a very superficial understanding of society? I'm also talking about my experience with Magic Bus, where, you know, we do a lot of sporting activities and we do a debrief where we try and build life skills and perspectives. That is the space where we can talk about what is going on around us as a society, which is very crucial for our understanding as political individuals. Coming to the community and the state, building bridges between the community and the state, I don't think any large-scale impact can be possible till there is a bridge between the community and the state. The resources lie with the state. How much ever aid we bring in, how much ever, you know, donor spaces that we try and bring in, sustainability cannot happen, is not possible because the resources lie with the state. And when it comes to Kashmir, we know of draconian laws that have been utilized to suppress people's feelings. And I think, this is not a solution. I think we must create a space where the army and the people start talking to each other. Unless that barrier is broken, I don't know how we can, talk about any other thing possible. I'm not the best person to talk about this issue, but I would just say dialogue and not keep it only to dialogue, engage people in action. Dialogue can take us nowhere because it's just words, and that can again take us back to tokenism.
Would you like to just add to that question in any way? Because it's about building bridges between different groups, so I wonder.
Okay, just briefly, I would agree with what you said. It's an interesting one because when you're trying to, when we look at it from our perspective of doing research in this space, a lot's been done on bonding social capital. We brought this up before. How do we get on as a group? The next step is then to bridge, so the bridging social capital element. And there's projects, particularly in reconciliation and peace, of how to bridge divides and using sport as a vehicle. The last part is often forgotten, I think, and that's this, what's been described as linking social capital, and linking to institutions of power, to authorities, and to those people and organizations that can make things happen. And if we're really serious about partnerships, about leverage, making sure that this grows beyond our immediate impact that we have in the community, we need to link. We need to get in with positions of power, with authorities that can make those changes. If that's on the policy level, or if it's on the funding level, support level. I think this connection between the state and community sport for development work is one of the big next steps that's going to come.
I'll just add something very briefly. This is something we are doing in a community called Jogeshwari in Bombay. We recently did one of our Peace Week annual events, which started off as an inter-school sport meet long back, 10 years back. This year, we worked with 24 youth groups who played cricket against each other. So there was a cricket tournament. However, What we did after that was we are also currently engaged in one of the political campaigns called Unmanifesto, where we are influencing young people to come up with their manifestos and influencing political parties to add parts of the youth manifesto into their manifesto, targeting the upcoming 2014 general elections in India. We are working with these 24 cricket youth groups in the community and asking them to build promises and manifestos which are then being taken to elected political representatives of the community. So I could say that's an example of how we are using this space.
So the question that Zafar asked, right? Zafar asked, he was asking, is there any way in which you involve children to ask their opinions on questions which are essentially political ones?
First of all, I want to say that we are working the kids under 18. So basically these kids are working on the street too. So where the candidates of the parliament members are coming, taking all of the kids in one side, taking pictures with them, and for example, giving them food in one area and asking, oh, tell your parents, give me vote, give me vote, give me vote. This is what happened. And the most big problem in my country is ethnicity problem. If the biggest population, according to statistics, Pashtuns, our ethnicity, I respect all the ethnicities. The problem is this: our main leaders, maybe some older people from the past, it had created. That's why we had lots of internal fighting because of ethnicities. And so whatever until now it's happening. If something is if a candidate is from Pashtun ethnicity, most of the people are going to that side. If a candidate is from Uzbek ethnicity, most of them are going from that side. But what we do in Kyrgyzstan, until now we haven't talked anything politically. We are not talking anything about political because banned directly. If you talk anything about Pashtun ethnicity, tomorrow your organization is shut up. And if you're talking anything about Uzbek ethnicity back, other day your office is back. What we are doing here, our program is kids from different ethnicity and from different backgrounds, like rich students and poor students. We are bringing them all together in the classroom, so they're learning about creative arts. They're exchanging their exchanging their stories, exchanging their different views. According to your answer, as myself, like when I was in university, I remember those days where we had lots of fighting. Okay, Uzbek ethnicity from this side, which candidate of presidential you wanna give vote? Because they were giving us nice food, they were inviting us for dinners. We were going and having their pictures on our shirts or having pictures in our dormitory rooms. And that's why like our political view, according to my opinion, until now, I can't make really comment on that, but whatever I will do in the future, put my head down and just keep up on my work.
Thanks, Abdul. Let's get a couple more queries from the audience in case there are some. Clifton, you had a question.
Thank you. My name is Clifton. A very practical question I have, as you have experience from diverse geographies in post-conflict situations. The question is this: imagine there's a multi-ethnical, religious, perhaps even a multinational situation, and funds are there, NGOs are there and prepared and willing. But the basic question is, what are the key stakeholders to get on board to really be able to start a program in such a situation? Key stakeholders, like we were speaking about, authorities, government, but also religious leaders perhaps, other leaders. Can you please elaborate on that?
Thank you. I really don't have a question. I just want to make a comment. And I want to thank you very much, the panelists, for the very good presentations. It's exciting for me to hear. From the Indo-Pacific, there's not so much conflict as such. But the one area there's always conflict is rugby matches, sports. That's where the schools, the villages, the districts, they always have a big fight. But you know, the measure of your, how good the strength of your team is the strength of your enemy or the strength of your, the team that you're playing against. In those games where you're playing against the one that you really hate and you want to beat, actually turn out to be your real best friend. And in that way, it really resolves a lot of conflicts between sports people, because they come to us to a point where they have so much respect for the sportsmanship, the skill of those people, that they forget about the differences. The last comment that I wanted just to make is that I have a feeling that there's so much talk about changing the lifestyle or adopting all the sports program. The reason why we wanted to have those sports program because we want a better life for the people. And it seems that our sports program or the lifestyle that we want to preach and want to create becomes more important than life itself. And then we hang up and we can so focus in trying to have a successful program and not a successful life. We might have very good program and tick all the boxes that we complete all these things here, but at the end, actually, it's not sustained. It does not impact. It doesn't improve the life of the people. I think I just want to share with you that one, and I think that what I tell the people in the Pacific is to be original and go local, meaning that we have to look inside what we can do to improve our situation before we embrace and look outside ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm actually going to ask Dr. Ranjan. Dr. Ranjan, do you want to respond to the question about key stakeholders, particularly because you're the only panelist who spoke from the post-disaster perspective?
I think there are many actors there, and we talked about the government, we talked about the other members. But based on my learning and understanding, you know, like the most important is with the help of the community people, how we can identify the respectable persons in that community, the community leaders, and the role of teachers, and also in some of the places, the role of self-help groups, the women's self-help group, you know, members, those who are very, very important. And in rural areas, there is a nutrition center. In India, we call it the Anganwadi Center. So the in charge of Anganwadi Center, the Sevika, we call it the worker, Anganwadi worker. So they are the respectable people, and especially the community people are having a good faith and trust among them. So they are the most important players to work together to identify the people, the needy people, and how we can reach to them. So apart from the government, apart from the some political, apart from the local governance, even the local government people, I think the community is playing a very, very important role. And based on my learning in Gujarat, this Tamil Nadu, the tsunami, and as well as in Bihar, I think they played a very important role, and that was acceptable to those.
Thanks, Dr.
Yes, sure.
So, just few points I want to give you about your question. Just very few points. Which sports you want to do in the community? Is it religious community or it's not religious community? It depends what you want to select. You should have knowledge of the area. Then afterwards, involve the leaders of the area. Government is already involved because they know what's happening. Leaders of the area, explain your program, what it is about. In the Muslim communities, you cannot just tell them, oh, I have a swimming gym, come and send your daughters there. No, but whatever is happen, just knowledge of the area and exactly talking of the area, also involving the communities, very helpful.
I'm just going to ask the whole panel for closing comments now, and I'm going to offer a question around which we structure our closing comments. And again, I'll request that they be brief.
But the question is this, and this is something that people in the audience have asked in some way over the last 4 days. Is the problems we have spoken of are extremely complex. Post-disaster and post-conflict, even the normal routine of everyday life is completely disrupted. In that kind of scenario, where the challenges are in one sense amplified beyond normal everyday life, really isn't there a limitation to what sport can do, and shouldn't we be in touch with that, especially when we speak to an audience which is looking to work in that kind of situation and that kind of context? So the specific question is, what are the limitations of sport in a post-conflict, post-disaster kind of situation? Yeah, and I'll be a bit mean out here now on time. Yeah, just for a couple of minutes. So we'll start with Nico.
Okay. No, it's on again. Okay. It's a special context, and I think this question is a very valid one. I think there's the argument of scope. In post-conflict, we're dealing with a very specific context, and therefore, if it's an inter-community event, we're trying to build bridges, we're trying to facilitate something on the community level, well, let's do that, let's start there. And I think it's a matter of making sure that we are aspiring to achieve more, and we're changing the world in a sense, but this is not what we're yet doing. And I think this is going a bit on a positive way, out of hand, saying, oh yeah, we're changing lives of individuals, communities, and the nation. Well, maybe we're not doing that yet, and that's still a long step away.
So my comments about that, according to my experience, sports can play a better role in a community, because in my country, from the past, already war had happened, internally fights what happened, because when the community where there was conflict, if you wanna, one important thing is education can change the community. But for that, if the person is studying from the 1st grade until 12th grade, it will take 12 years. If the person is want to study university, it will take 16 years. Or if he want to do a master's, it will take 18 years. But the sports is a tool where in one game, like even in the classroom, if it is in a lecture classroom, I'm 100% sure, like 20 students in the classroom, they will not get time to do identification with each other. If there's a sports game, like football, just example, 10 people in one team, 10 people in another team. When they're playing football, before playing that, they will say, okay, my name is Ricky, or my name is Rikas, or whatever. They will just already introduce themselves. When they're playing ball, they will trust each other. Should I pass the ball to that person? Either he can do the goal or not. And he will see the ability of that person, like emotional, how he is emotional. He will, the confidence that guy will shoot the ball, and should I pass the ball or not, how we should do the goal, is also teamwork. In one game, they will get introduced to each other, and also they will know the potential of the another team, how they are, who is good, who can do good pass ball or something like that.
I feel that sports help to reduce the tension during the post-conflict, and it's a good way to for this trauma counseling.
I think this is a very valid question, and I personally feel, and what I have observed, I think sports is having that power, to play a very, very important role during this post-disaster and conflict. And we have learned, and also we have assessed that how they can play, their sports can play. The most important thing is here how we can identify, forget about the religion and other things, because sports is very, very acceptable among the community. How we can identify some of the important players there, like among the community. When we are talking about the camp management, we discussed about this camp management, like how in that camp we can identify some of the key players, and how the local non-governmental organization or the community-based organization, how they can play an important role to identify some of them. And they can also, tell us what are the things are acceptable. So sports, definitely the social, psycho, that phase, that can also be, and also the distribution part. And also gender issue is very, very prevalent during these post-disaster. Especially, when we are managing the camp, that that because the gender issue is very, very high. So the sports can not only the mobilize community, not only just for the psycho trauma, rather to sensitize them how to take it forward and how these issues can be handled in a very, very effective manner.
I would agree with all my co-panelists and just add that you want to be around for a very long time in helping people come out, in helping people take a leap from rehabilitation to well-being in a post-conflict or post-disaster situation. In that case, I would just say go very, very slow. There would be bystanders in the beginning, and bystanders are participants as well. Treat bystanders as participants. They will take them from being bystanders to participants in a while. So go slow, give people their own space, and they will join in. And maybe start with smaller games and have a lot of fun and mirth around it to cut through the agonies and the traumas that people have been going through. Thank you. That was a fitting question to end.
Thank you to the panelists. Thank you to the audience. Just to close, I was really struck by the composition of this panel because I felt that we've got an academic and we've got some really passionate practitioners here, and we've got somebody who is very closely linked to the state in the form of Sudesh, who's on this panel as well. And I thought, and it's an emotional thing, right? When you talk post-disaster and post-conflict, you're talking rehabilitation and reintegration. These are all emotional things at some level. And I think it's fantastic that the panel has shown us how to do something truly remarkable, which is to think with our hearts and to feel with our minds. And I think when you do that, then there is capacity for social change through whatever tool you choose. Out here though, we're advocating sport for development. Thank you so much for your time. A couple of quick announcements. Zafar, who asked us such an interesting question, has lost his Nokia Lumia phone. So please let's help him get it back. If you find it, please do give it back to him. And tomorrow there's a visit around Delhi, a city tour, and that starts at 8:30 in the morning. So you're requested to assemble in the lobby at 8:30 tomorrow. Thanks so much for being with us, and have a great lunch.